Lions and lionesses, I hope you're doing well. In this Coach Cast, I'm going to tell you a story that I hope helps you, that adds meaning to your life, and allows you to understand why you do what you do, and why sometimes you're awesome, and sometimes not so much. We all been there, myself included. And so let me start by telling you a little bit about my story. You see, I was born to do what I do. My father was the catalyst, I would say. My dad was 6'5". He was special forces in Vietnam, and he was a unique man because after going through Vietnam, he obviously had some challenges and there was no support. And so he used physical training as his medicine. Movement became his medicine. So even though he would work a 12-hour shift in a steel mill or a factory or something, he would come home and he would train. Not out of ego, not out of vanity, but so that he could show up as his best self for his family and just be functional in a lot of ways. And he would hunt. He would do all these cool things. He was an Ironman triathlete. He was a pit fighting champion. So he was a tough man fighting champion in his 40s. And he was dominant. And what happened was he inspired many other people his age to do the same thing. And they were getting destroyed. So they made a rule. Hey, if you're over 40, no more fighting. And we don't want to be liable for this. And so my dad turned pro as a boxer in his late 40s and went undefeated. And that really inspired me. And it gave me a role model. He never told me to train, he never did anything, but he never got me a single toy in my life. He only got me things that sharpened me physically and mentally. Like he would get me a good coach. He would introduce me to somebody. We'd get equipment. I'd get me books and courses. He said, you got to train your mind before you train your body, because you may not have all the talent in the world. Anyone might not, but you can get every drop out of the talent you have by honing your mind. And one thing, my dad wasn't good at school, but he studied all the time. He was a student of life. So I'd always see him reading and stuff. And he became an expert in anything he put his hands on. If he directed his focus on something, he would know everything about it. And he was a great teacher too, whether he realized it or not. He taught me a lot through his example. So I love this. So when I was 4, I got my first weight set and punching bag. I actually have a picture from it. It's really cool. I think it's on my website if you want to check it out. But maybe it's not. I don't know. You can see how organized I am with those sort of things. I'm just here to help people. And so I really loved it though. And I wanted to be like my dad. So I just kept going for it, playing sports, doing all this stuff. I would climb trees. I was super active. I got really good at school too. And because it was emphasized, it's important. You got to be able to read, you got to be able to write, you got to be able to talk. And later on, I didn't realize the importance of that, but I found out. And when I was 13 years old, something unique happened. About this time, I got my first set of Tony Robbins tapes. That's how big of a nerd I was. And I was really into that stuff even at that age. And I had a decision to make. I grew up in a trailer, and so there wasn't a whole lot of space. So I could either have a weight bench or I could have a bed. And I trained every day, even at that age. And I decided that I'm going to sleep on a weight bench for the next 3 or 4 years. And I loved it. I had no problem with it at all because I thought it was the way to go. Later on, I realized I should probably sleep better. I had no trouble sleeping though. But when you train hard, you sleep pretty good when you use your body. It's when we don't move very much that our body is telling us you got to move. You ain't going to sleep yet. And so keep these things in mind. There's laws of nature that we all must follow. And that is definitely one of them. You got to move. Movement is medicine. But anyway, obviously I fell in love with this stuff and I just had an affinity for it. And I won the world's best personal trainer contest when I was 23 the first time. The next year I won all the categories and it was awesome. It was a blessing. And then I decided to move from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Florida because I didn't want to be a big fish in a little pond. I wanted to go and learn from the masters, so to speak. And so I went and pursued knowledge and wisdom and experience. And along the way, I somehow was blessed to attract many professional athletes and famous people. And that helped my influence and ability to help others. Because for some reason, people think if you train famous people, that you're better than the people that don't. I don't know what that is, but on some level, I understand because Tony Robbins, who's my best friend and I work with every day, he could train with anybody in the world. Everyone wants to train that guy, right? So I understand that part. But really, some of the best doctors I know, for instance, are in little towns in the middle of nowhere, and they don't write books, they don't teach, they don't do podcasts. And so what we all need to do is to become a student of self-mastery. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So a long time ago, I read a book called Mastery by a man named George Leonard. George Leonard was a philosopher and a Aikido master. Now, Aikido is a martial art that uses your enemies, the attacker's energy, against them. So you don't have to be super strong, and you can redirect their energy. It's like a high intelligence thing. It's almost like chess for martial arts. And I'm not saying that, it's the best martial art or anything, but there's a beauty in it, and there's a sophistication, and there's a genius in it. And it requires mastery to make it work. So most people aren't masters. So when they try to use it on someone that is attacking them, they're not very good at it. But when you're truly a master at it, you are precise. These little things matter. And so in that book, he talked about there's these different types of people, different archetypes. And I changed it from my perspective, my experience. So I'm going to give you how I modified it and changed it from what I've learned through life. So the first archetype of commitment, people that say they want to learn a sport, or they want to get in shape, or they want to get good at anything. The first group and the largest group of people are dabblers. Dabblers are the tire kickers. They're not serious, right? So they do it for fun. They do it for feeling good. And as soon as it gets challenging, they're out. And they chase novelty. So they'll listen to a podcast, for instance, and now they change their whole diet, or they change all their supplements, or they change the way they train, or they change everything. And so the dabbler's always jumping around to the next thing. They're always seeking the new thing. And you really can't make progress that way, because what works is a handful of principles. There's really 8 habits of physical mastery. And if you want to get in great shape, you got to do these 8 things thousands of times. You don't need to do 10,000 different things. You need to do 8 things thousands of times. And I love that concept, but some people are turned off by it, and they never make progress either. And so hopefully, if you're here, you're not a dabbler. If you actually just hit the play button, I imagine you're not. If you signed up for this thing, you're probably attracted to this concept of mastery, because it is the gateway to living greatly and with no regrets. Now, where most of my clients start, and where I lived most of my life, is what I call the committed achiever. The committed achiever is a person that will work their face off. And you get rewarded if you work hard, but you suffer a lot and you sacrifice a lot. So early in my career, I would not go to parties. I would not go do things. And I'm not saying you should go do those things. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I don't do anything like that. I never really have, because I took away from my ability to serve, to create value in the world. And that was most important to me. But as a committed achiever, the deeper belief that drives us, we have to understand that beliefs are the software of the mind. Why we do what we do are because of what we believe. They're the rules we live by, and most of them are subconscious. We're not aware of them. We developed them when we were very young. We developed the bulk of our beliefs by the age of 7. And some of them are great. Some of them aren't so great. So where we sabotage ourselves, usually it's a software glitch, a belief thing that we need to become aware of and upgrade. And then the behavior change. What most people do, and what the committed achiever does, is they focus on doing things. So when everything's going great, you're making great progress, what do they want to do? They want to do more. More is better. That's the belief. And so if I work hard, I'm worthy of life's rewards. That's the deeper belief. If I'm lazy and I don't work hard, if I'm not doing something, if I'm not busy, then I'm not enough and I'm not worthy of life's rewards. That's the deeper belief. And if things aren't going well for the committed achiever, what's their reaction? They do more. So if, say they're working out and they were losing weight, because everyone loses weight at first when they make adjustments, right? But are they losing muscle or fat? That's one thing, right? Or water. And so, but then after about 3 weeks, the body adapts, so we have to make adjustments. And then what do? They're like, oh, I've been running every day. I've been doing cardio. I'm going to do 2 sessions a day. And they'll make some progress. But usually what happens is their body can't keep up with this stress, because it's really important that they achieve quickly, because they focus on the outcome. this moment in time when they hit the goal. And as soon as they hit the goal, they set another goal. So they never really celebrate. They never really enjoy the process. The process is a hindrance to them. The process is like, oh, I have to do this so I can get to the outcome. And that is the way I lived most of my life, and it's a hard life. And I created it. Now, in Carl Jung's work on archetypes, Carl Jung was a great philosopher and also a mystic, and he was a pioneer in human psychology. And he had these archetypes, and I'll just talk about two of them. And one archetype was the warrior, which is similar to the committed achiever. It's basically the same thing. The warrior is, tell me what to do, and I will work my face off. I will work till my ears bleed. Just tell me what to do. I don't want to think about it. Just tell me what to do. That's the warrior. And they will work hard. And then they'll work too hard and they won't recover well. They won't focus on sleep. They won't focus on nutrition so much. Or if they focus on nutrition, it's about restriction. It's not about fueling the body. It's about, I'm going to force the body to change because I don't like it. And they judge their body a lot. And so instead, what we want to do is we want to make an evolution. We want to grow and expand into these other parts of ourselves. And the highest level, the most enjoyable level, the most powerful level is what I call the devoted and humble student of self-mastery. The devoted and humble student of self-mastery. Let me explain that. So you've noticed that the committed achiever is committed, which commitment sounds good, but there's a difference between being committed and being devoted to something. So let's say someone's committed. I'm committed. I'm going to show up and I'm going to hammer it out. I'll do whatever it takes, but I'm not going to quit and I'll be here, but I don't have to be happy about it. That's the committed achiever. Sometimes they're happy about it, sometimes they're not, but that's not the important thing. The importance is just showing up when someone's committed. Just being there is commitment. Now, devotion is often used in spiritual teachings, that word, and there's a beauty to it because it says, not only am I committed, but I'm also devoted to showing up as my best self. Not only am I going to be here and be reliable, but I am going to be consistent, and I'm going to be consistent in being in my heart rather than my head. Rather than just suffering through life, I'm going to show up and what Tony and Sage would call a beautiful state of being. Love-based emotional states, courage, patience, gratitude, passion, joy, harmony, peace, love. That's what it is. Because in those states, we have more energy. In those states, we can create. So love is often thought of as this fairy tale Disney romance nonsense. It has nothing to do with that. Love creates order in the universe. Love, nothing is created without love, some sort of caring. And maybe that's a better word. I'm not sure. Whatever resonates with you, you get what I'm saying. If you don't care about something, you will not act about it. If you don't care about your health, you're not going to do anything about it. If you don't care about other people, you're not going to help them. So caring is maybe the source, the spark of everything. And it comes from a sense of love, of like, hey, if I can, I will. Which means if I have the capability to help, I'm going to help myself and others. And so the devotion is different than commitment. Devotion is I'm going to fall in love with the process, not the outcome. The outcome will arise. It will come about because I'm dedicated. I've devoted myself to living this process, like eating a certain way, training a certain way. But I don't train to change because I hate my body. I train so I can be, feel, and give my best to myself and others, so I can live greatly with no regrets. Because that's within my control. That's within your control. You are the creator of that. So I also include the word humble, because a lot of times the people that struggle the most that I work with are the ones that have a lot of experience because they have a lot of beliefs. They think, I got to go to the gym. I thought that too. I owned gyms for many, many years. And I realized the research contradicted my beliefs. And my friends are researchers. And they're like, Billy, your muscles don't know the difference between a rock and that $10,000 machine. But the machine is pretty hard on the joints. It looks cool though, and it's good for business, but they don't need that. You can use a band, you can use body weight, you can use dumbbells, you can use a rock, you can use anything. Challenge is the stimulus for change. Challenge creates change. You challenge the body, you make it uncomfortable, and then you give it the raw materials, the nutrition and hydration, and then the sleep, the recovery, and it changes. But what most people do is they do too much or too little. They train way too much, or they go from the couch to crazy, right? So being humble and open-minded is the key. And that's one of the keys that helped me a lot. Sometimes I would get stuck in my head and think that, hey, I'm stubborn sometimes. There's a small difference between being stubborn and perseverance. So sometimes I cross that line because I'm human. And so it took me years to learn this stuff. But mastery, being devoted to self-mastery, is the gateway to living greatly. And when you understand that, hey, sometimes I'm dabbling, and that's fine. Like when it comes to playing a guitar, like I dabble because I was just trying to memorize some songs to impress a girl. That's all it was, right? But I didn't really care about learning it. Right now, maybe later on in my life, I decide to devote myself to it. But at least I know that it doesn't eat away at me, that I'm not good at it, because it's not important to me. So I just want you to understand that no matter where you're at, you can adjust it by adjusting your focus. So the devoted, humble student self-mastery focuses on the process, focus on being. The committed achiever now focuses on the outcome, moments in time, and they suffer a lot in the process, and they tend to overdo it and then underdo it, and they say things like, I'm either all in or I'm all out. You've heard that before. I say it all the time, and I thought it was cool. I thought it sounded cool, and it definitely wasn't, because I was in my 20s and 30s. I was hurt all the time because I just overdid things, and I didn't focus. I didn't value rest and sleep. I was working like 12 hours a day, training people and doing all this stuff, and not sleeping enough, and not eating enough food all the time, because I was always trying to stay super lean. And so there's a time for that, but there's also a time to focus on fueling and performance and building muscle and strength. And so I learned that the hard way. Now, at this stage of life, I have no pain in my body. I'm super athletic. I still fight. I still spar. I'm faster than I was in my 20s. Like, I learned how to train properly. I realized that aging it's not a destination. It's not your destiny. Aging is misuse of your body. Sometimes it's abuse of the body, right? Sometimes it's just eating too much and not moving enough, or not sleeping enough. But it's those 8 habits of physical mastery that really matter. And it's about applying them again and again and again. And so this concept of mastery can best be described as this. Bruce Lee was the first mixed martial artist. A lot of people don't realize this, but before, there was this big controversy, like, what's the best martial art? Karate, jiu-jitsu, and they would all battle it out. And then the heads of different styles would fight the other ones to prove it. But learning the other techniques, the other styles, was like forbidden. It's like, hey, no, it's got to be about purity. And there's a tradition here. And Bruce Lee was like, I'm going to learn all of it. I'm going to take what's useful and discard the rest. And that was frowned upon. Yet he became dominant. He was not a big man. He was like 130 pounds, but he trained. He did weight training. He's one of the first martial artists to do resistance training. He would do plyometrics. He would do all this stuff. And he was really intelligent, and he focused on his nutrition. He would actually throw whole eggs, shells and all, in his shakes so that he would get the protein and the calcium from the shells. Like, that's dedication, right? But Bruce Lee was asked in an interview about this other guy who did a different martial art and wanted to challenge him, and said that he knows 10,000 different kicks, 10,000 different kicks. And Bruce Lee, and only the way he could do it, he has such presence. He looked directly at the reporter and says, I do not fear the man who has practiced 10,000 different kicks. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. I'm pausing for effect. When I first heard that, I was like, wow, that's what mastery is about. And there's many examples of this. When someone fully devotes themselves to something, the world moves to assist them. When people dabble, nothing happens. Resistance pops up at every corner. But when someone fully devotes themselves to something, the way is cleared. It's like life knows that you're going to do it one way or the other, so why even fight you? And And that there's something beautiful about that. But when it comes to transforming your body, having radiant health, having a body that you're proud of and doesn't let you down, whether you're 20 or 120, it's not complicated. It's actually quite simple. You need to do a handful of things, thousands of times. You don't need to do thousands of things a handful of times. You just got to do those 8 habits of physical mastery again and again and again. And it takes time to master it. So you need patience. But mastery doesn't have a deadline. Mastery is about today. It's about being present. The committed achiever lives in the future. The dabbler is often focused on the past or just right now, like, hey, do I feel good? I don't feel good, I'm out. So the dabbler doesn't make any progress. Committed achiever make progress, but it takes their soul. It's so difficult. It's so hard because of their approach. They're just doing way more, making it way harder than it needs to be. I was guilty of that for most of my life. And then I learned, like, hey, if I keep this up, this isn't sustainable. I'm not gonna be able to walk. I'm not gonna be able to move. I'm gonna be stiff as a board. I need to move like a panther. I'm gonna live a long time. And I want to enjoy it. I don't want my body riddled with pain and dysfunction. So the way we train is based off of this, off this concept of self-mastery and devotion to it. And I want you to understand that, because when you apply it, you're not judging yourself. You're learning from mistakes, and they're gifts. Because the only way to make progress in anything is to mess up, is to actually do it and mess up, learn from it, and make adjustments. That's how you make progress. Because success is not a straight line. Like, no one's ever lost, 50 pounds or 100 pounds or whatever it was. No, of all the thousands of transformations that we have, no one's ever just went a straight line. Usually at first they didn't make much progress at all, but they kept coming, and we kept, we reminded them who they are, and like, hey, this program works. Look at all these other people that did it. Let's keep going. Don't give up. It takes time. Be patient. Just focus on the process, and and they start to learn. And so they learn that the mind is the limit. The mind is the limiting factor. And when you understand that, where the mind goes, the body must follow. Where the mind goes, the body must follow. Now, I'm a nerd and I read research for fun. And when you read research on the mind and how it affects our health, it will blow your mind. So there's something called thought-driven physiology in the scientific literature. And what it shows is that we can have a thought about something that happened 20 years ago and have the same biochemical response within our bodies, the same hormonal release. So this is the concept of trauma. That's an extreme example of it, but we all have it. So if you go back in time and think of something that really scared you, and you will feel it again in your body. But also, if you think of a time you tasted a lemon, or you're about to taste lemon, your mouth will salivate. And that's just a simple example of how, where your mind goes, your body follows. So we got to put the mind first. And what almost everyone does, everyone I know, I've never found anyone that teaches what we teach, is that we put the mind first, and then we pair it with an effective, sustainable strategy. But if you leave out the mind, you're just using willpower, and willpower does not last. The more decisions you make each day, the less willpower you have. And so willpower is important when you first start, to just keep going, even though you're not seeing the change, because it's not about the change. It's about living the process. It's about living in a state of being where you're learning to fall in love with the process. Because if you fall in love with training because it makes you feel good, you will get the result. But if you don't learn to love the process, if you're not that devoted and humble student of self-mastery, it's just not going to happen. And if you do hammer it out because you have immense willpower, you usually get injured. And so you start and stop a lot. And that's my experience. I've been doing this my entire life. And I want you to know this, because when you know it, it changes everything. All right, my friends, we will get you the list of the 8 habits of physical mastery. They're quite simple, and I don't want you to say like, oh, I know this, or, oh, this is so easy. That is a lifetime of learning. And I spend all day, every day, pretty much studying, learning, helping people, and doing this. This is what I've done for decades now. And so I want you to realize that you have everything you need. You lack nothing. Now it's about living it. You're gonna mess up. It's not a straight line. And that's why it's so valuable. If it was easy, it would have no value. But there's something, I've been all over the world. I travel all the time. And no matter where I am, there's this universal respect when someone's in shape and strong, like myself. So I've been doing it my whole life, obviously, so I have those results. And I remember being in Papua New Guinea. I was waiting for a helicopter that was landing on a soccer field, and they just had a barbell, like a weight, like, you know, there wasn't a lot of resources here. So somehow they got a barbell. It's just on the field. There's no gym. And it had all the weight they had on it. And I was just waiting. So I was like, oh, cool, weights. And so I go over and I start, you know, doing all kinds of exercises with them. And all these kids like come over and start watching me, and I just start teaching them, you know, and like they couldn't really speak English, but I would just say, hey, do this, and they would mimic me. And it was so much fun. But it was like, if I wasn't in shape, I wouldn't have had that experience. And so when you have that experience, on some level, people trust you more. And I think it's based off evolutionary biology, because if someone comes in and they're in good shape, you're like, wow, this is a person that knows what's important, and they keep their word. This is a person of integrity. And if you're out of shape right now, it doesn't mean you don't have integrity, but you don't have integrity with what you want because you're choosing other things. And you may not ever had access to the right information. And that, I understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't judge yourself. Do something about it. Because every day you get a little better or you get a little worse. All of us. You get a little healthier or you get a little sicker. You get a little stronger or you get a little weaker. And it's the little things, the small daily actions that compound, that when done consistently and relentlessly, they compound, they grow, they expand, they lead to massive results over time. But it's not a sprint, my friend. It's a marathon. It's something you must do for life. So you must fall in love with the process. I hope you found this helpful, my friend. This has been a lifetime of work that I love. And I want you to understand that you have what you need. Now go for it. No lambs, only lions.
You tap into the real you, but you have to retrain yourself. The way you retrain yourself is you wake your ass up in the morning and you say, I am here for a reason and a purpose. And it's bigger than my moods. It's bigger than the difficulties of the day. I am here to live like a lion, not the fear of a lamb.